Okay, so picture this. A world that just feels wrong. I'm talking about a place where dragons, golems, even whole planets get ripped out of their own reality and just thrown together. And as they try to figure out what's going on, they all start asking these really big, really unsettling questions about everything.
And this quote from a character called Cool Doodle just perfectly captures that shared bewilderment. It's the first thing on everybody's mind. And it's not just a simple "where am I?" No, it goes way deeper into this existential confusion that kind of sets the stage for everything else that follows.
So, the first most in-your-face problem for all these inhabitants is that their new home doesn't play by the rules. At all. The physics are all wonky, the logic is totally broken, and this is the really jarring part. The scale of everything is just completely impossibly out of whack. You can just feel the pure indignation in this, right? The dragon isn't just confused, it's genuinely offended. I mean, its whole identity is built on being fearsome. So being shrunk down to pocket size, that's like a direct attack on its very sense of self. It's an anger that comes from reality itself breaking its own promises. But see, anger isn't the only way to react. Look at the giraffe. Its identity is also all about its height, but its response is this deep, sad resignation. There's no fight left, just a kind of heartbroken acceptance of its new, smaller life. It's such a stark contrast to the dragon's fire, and it really shows you how a broken reality can shatter who you are in totally different ways. And here's a third reaction: putting on a brave face. It's a coping mechanism, really. The fighting golem tries to act all tough, projecting strength, but then it immediately admits it's all a bluff. Because when you feel that powerless and small, sometimes all you can do is pretend you're not. Okay, so here's the key takeaway. This whole size issue, as weird as it is, it's just a symptom. It's the first crack in the wall that points to a much, much deeper problem. The characters are starting to suspect that the wrongness of this place isn't just about scale. It goes all the way down to the fabric of existence itself. The fox puts it into words perfectly here. This world feels like this weird mashup, analog and yet digital. It looks real, but it feels like a simulation, like something that's not quite solid. And, when the world around you starts to feel like a dream, you've no choice but to start questioning what's going on inside you. And that brings us to the next logical step in this whole crisis. Once the foundation of your reality starts to crack, the next thing you question is yourself. I mean, if the world isn't real, then what does that say about the I who's experiencing it? Now, this is where Blue just completely flips the conversation. It questions the most obvious problem they're all having. Is being small an objective fact, or is it just a subjective perception? And boom, that one thought introduces this huge idea that our personal experience is what actually builds the reality we know. This gets us to the core philosophy in play here: subjectivity. It's this idea that each of us is at the center of our own universe, right? We're all looking at the world through our own unique, limited filter. We can never know objective reality, only our own personal version of it. And for these characters, that idea has got to be both terrifying and maybe a little liberating. This quote just perfectly illustrates that crisis. Nessie's been told it's a legend so many times that it's starting to question its own existence. I mean, think about that. Can what other people believe about you actually overwrite your own sense of self? If enough people say you're a myth, do you just become one? It's a dizzying thought, for sure. And then Dogface just drops this philosophical classic, the ship of Theseus paradox. You know the one: if you replace every single plank of a ship over time, is it still the same ship? This directly challenges our idea of a stable, consistent self. We're all constantly changing, ourselves, our thoughts, our memories. For creatures who've been literally ripped from their homes and shrunk down, this question isn't some academic puzzle. It's a full-blown identity crisis. Okay, so let's recap. The world outside is questionable, and the self on the inside is unstable. This whole existential crisis leads right to the ultimate question that people have been asking for centuries. If nothing is certain, then what's the point of any of it? And there it is. Lil Dove asked the question that's now on everyone's mind. It's so simple, but it's carrying the weight of all the confusion and doubt we've seen. This isn't just a casual question. It's a genuine plea for purpose in a world that seems to have none to offer. So when you're faced with a world that seems meaningless, you kind of see two opposing paths emerge. On one side, you've got the ice dragon, who decides to just embrace the absurdity of it all and find purpose in simple joy, literally in making an ice cream sandwich. It's a path of joyful creation. But then, on the other side, you've got the caterpillar, who only sees the void. It's this grim acceptance that any effort is pointless. Two totally extreme responses to the exact same problem. But it's not just a simple choice between those two extremes. There's a whole range of strategies for finding a reason to keep going. First, you have logic, the fox's approach, who thinks you can reason your way to an answer. Second, there's acceptance, Dapper Pupper's path, who basically asks, does it even need to make sense? And third, there's bluffing, the Gollum strategy of faking it till you make it. Three totally different paths, and no single one is the right answer.
So we've heard all these different voices, and they're all grappling with this reality in their own way. But if you listen closely, underneath all the anger and sadness and confusion, a common theme starts to emerge. It's like they're all part of one single existential choir.
A big part of that feeling, underneath everything, is just hopelessness. A sense that the problems they're up against are just too big, and they are way too small to ever solve them.
And that goes hand in hand with this deep, gnawing uncertainty. You know, this constant anxiety about the future, about the rules of this world, and about whether they'll even exist from one moment to the next. There's also this overwhelming feeling that none of this was planned. It's this chilling realization that they're all just victims of a totally random, chaotic universe that honestly could not care less about what happens to them. And when you mix all of those feelings together, what do you get? You get this massive shared frustration, a profound anger at a reality that just refuses to make sense, no matter how hard they try to figure it out. This last thought from Blue really ties it all together beautifully. All those feelings, the hopelessness, the uncertainty, the frustration, they're all part of what it calls the eternal existential conundrum. And the engine driving it all? It's that universal desire to know all, to finally get the answers. And that shared search is the one thing that connects every single creature in this strange new world. And that leaves us with one last really provocative question to think about. If every conscious being, whether it's a planet, a giraffe, a dragon, or a golem, if they all end up wrestling with the same fundamental questions, then maybe, just maybe, finding the answer isn't the most important part. Maybe the real meaning is found in that shared eternal search itself.